Now it's already the first part of July, and I'm thinking early season. Early bow season is only about 2.5 months away. And I wanted to talk about a really good bow season setup. And I want to see that you have these ingredients. If you have these ingredients for an early season setup, then it's hard to go wrong. Early season setups are tough. Mature bucks are typically moving from a bedding area right here through something, some great quality forage that they want to, and then they're going out after dark to a big destination field or hardwoods, whatever it might be, and it's a pretty short movement. So you can be 300 yards off, and you're 300 yards off. You're not going to see that deer, and you can even have a camera in that spot, and if he's coming out 100 yards away, you could go weeks and not see that deer because he's simply going from bedding to feeding. He's not cruising. He's going perpendicular to the movement you would expect during cruising season. During cruising season, for example, along this wood line, we have all kinds of scrapes and cruising trails that go inside the woods. That buck could go from here and go a half mile that way. He could go down in the woods down there. And we'll see that on our cameras back and forth through here during cruising season. They might do that for even a month, but at least 3 weeks. But the rest of the time, they're just going from their bedding area to food. They're very efficient creatures. So that's part of that setup. We want to have that attractive little spot. It could be that maybe he's going into a big clear cut to feed. You're on public land, but he's always going to hit this white oak on the way to that clear cut from his bedding area. Maybe a cluster of apples, maybe a red osier dogwood thicket on the side of a swamp where he's bedding in an island. He's going through that thicket and out into open hardwoods or distant ag fields. So I want to see that nice little hidey hole attraction in a small format. We're on a little clover plot right here. We're actually, this portion right here is being sprayed again. Sprayed, we'll plant it. But this clover strip that Dylan's on extends for about 100 yards that way and wraps around this end right here. This will all be into an attractive forage, but they're already hitting just this little bit of clover. What's interesting about clover during the summer, a little bit goes a long ways. We actually just mowed this. We want to mow it when it gets that flower head, when the flowers are starting to die. We want to chop them off. It'll thicken that stand. And this stand of clover is getting really thick. We have bird's foot trefoil, chicory, alfalfa in here, and it's starting to get really, really thick and lush. Deer hitting it hard every night. So I want a little summer attraction spot. It might even be that those white oak acorns are starting to drop in early September. Your season opens in October, but you have to establish that pattern of use on something. A clover plot is nice because the deer are eating it all summer long and establishes that pattern of use. So even if this is down to the dirt in November, they've been using and they have this pattern for months at a time. They'll still come back, they'll still follow that pattern even in November. They might cruise through here and all of a sudden they turn and they come right back through here. So that's part of the setup. I want a high quality early season draw, and the longer it's been established, the better. Typically we're not hunting in the morning because we go back into that bedding area 150 yards back, 200 yards back. There's a beautiful point we've worked on back here. We go back to that point, try to get in there in the morning. Of course, we can't go in the afternoon. We walk in there, we're going to spook them. We go in there in the morning, wait for them to come back. Well, they're probably already there. During the early season, a lot of times, because of the heat of the day, they're not cruising yet. They're back just loafing and lounging back in their bedding area. It's hard to beat them. So you go in there one time and spook them. Now, we didn't just ruin that, we ruined this. We ruined the whole line of movement. He's gone. He'll shift over. And typically they shift over 200, 300 yards at least. So it's not like they just go right over there, 50 yards away, and still follow the same pattern. If you spook this line out, they're gone. That's why you have to be very careful how we enter and exit the stand location. We need to have a hidden stand location. We need to have hidden access in and out, and that's point number 2. We have to have that early season draw. This is going to be an afternoon sit because in the morning it's going to be difficult. So that being said, we need to be able to get in here in the afternoon without walking by a bedding area and not spooking those deer. We come in right over on this side. And you see this redneck blind in the background. Really good hidden stand. We have a box elder tree, a bush basically growing right in front of it. We've cut that down. We're letting it come up. It's back there in the dark timber. The sun actually sets behind it. Very difficult to see that. It blends right in. And then we have this wall of switchgrass. We're in early July and the switchgrass will still be growing for another 4 to 6 weeks. And that switchgrass is already approaching that 5-foot range, 4-foot range. This is our northern switchgrass blend, and it's competing with some weeds. You know, I told Dylan, I'm like, man, I wish I would have hit this strip with 2,4-D this spring. I didn't. It's one of the few that I didn't, and that had weeds in it. Now I'm seeing the goldenrod. We have some daisies. There's some other broadleafs in here, but you can see all the switch we have. It's all this wispiness. So I look at it like, I'd rather just let this go. We're already at 5 feet. This switch is going to get up here in the 6 to 7 foot range. It's still going to be a solid wall. It'll still be very attractive. And I think we'll wait till next year to continue to take care of it. Even this Queen Anne's lace, we get rid of this. This can be really diminishing. And you see where we get more flowers in here, how the height of the switch grows down. But even then, it's still going to be, even where it's diminished, it's still going to be 5 feet tall. Let alone, sorry for interrupting, we'll be right back, but it's getting close to fall planting season. We have some of our favorite blends, some newer blends. Big Boost 365. We have our Power Greens 365. Those have the perennial base. We're actually planting some of that here. Big Boost, Fall Power Greens, those are some of our favorites, our all-time sellers. We're actually taking this strip of clover right here. We're going to make that a perennial back up there. We're going to terminate this buckwheat. We'll plant into it in the coming weeks, and then we're going to hunt right behind me. Mock scrape right there. We're all set up. I hope you are too. Check out Pure Wildlife Blends. Now back to the video. When we get right in front of this blind, you see how well it's doing, how dark green the switch is right in front of the blind. And so when we access that blind, we're accessing behind a wall of switch that extends back about 12 to 15 feet. And we're accessing behind that wall of box elder. We actually access at an angle. We come from the field edge. We don't get back into bedding area. We've actually created bedding area back there. So non-bedding area access. We can get in and out of this. We can climb up the back of that redneck while there's deer out here. As long as we're quiet, they're not even going to know that we came in. So hidden blind, hidden access to get in here. And then of course, we really want to narrow down a shot. And you see how bare this spot right is right here. And we have a mock scrape set right in the front of this right here. Normally I don't like to have a mock scrape just in a random field, but I want a mock scrape in front of every bow location. So this shot right here is only like 22 yards. It's right here. And so when they're playing around out here and they want to head out to the fields, perfect spot for them to set up and come through to. So we have the setup. We have a food source that they're hitting all summer in a location that they're hitting all summer. We have it next to fall bedding, which is really critical. So we have it next to that fall bedding. We can expect this pattern to repeat. So great early season spot, great access in and out, and then it relates to a fall pattern, which is critical. We have this to sweeten the spot so we can actually get a shot on it, but we can expect this pattern to continue all the way into December, and that's what we see. It establishes in May. They hit the clover. They're here all the time. Maybe you're hunting public land. It's more of the food source of the moment. What I mean by that is the food sources on public land are always changing. And so when the white oaks are dropping acorns in early September, you want to be on that. But by sometime mid-October, you can have tons of sign and scrapes. They're not there anymore. So it's more of a 4 to 6 week time frame. They might be hitting a clear cut in late November, December. They might be hitting red oaks, really good red oak crop, beech nuts, cherries, but they might be hitting that in November. They might be hitting a distant ag field until the corn's picked, but it's a food source of the moment. But on private land, I want to establish that pattern of use early so that we're tapping onto that food source. We have great access in and out, so we're never spooking the deer. It relates to a fall movement. If this was just all open timber back there, maybe it's holding in early season if it's October 1st. If you're in an area up north and some of those leaves are starting to drop, those patterns will change. But we have really good bedding back here for the fall. So we know this is going to continue into the fall. And then finally, during the summertime, where do I put my cameras? I put them in spots like this. This camera over here, it's right out in the open. It's on a stick, but it's got a bunch of brush behind it. We have deer come right up to it that never pay attention because it's down lower. It's only about 1.5 feet off the ground. They typically aren't looking down, just like they're not looking up at that same angle. And then we have it full of brush behind it. It's just in that brushy edge. So that camera's a lot more hidden than you think. A lot of people put a camera and they'll stick it right out here in the open, maybe even looking back where the deer come from. I hate that because they see it. Eventually they figure out that it's a person and they avoid the spot right in front of your stand instead. And even that, if we start to see deer hitting that, then we'll put it on that tree back there, maybe that birch, we'll put it on this tree over here, just so we can hide it a bit more. But bottom line is, we don't have a lot of great early season stands where we have this clover plot. We have about 5 or 6 small clover plots here. This is the largest one. That's that early season food source. Even on a large property, let's say you have 4 or 5 early season spots, they're great for cameras. You can start to see what bucks are here. And we have Ocho, and Ocho's been hitting this. He was a buck that was a 4-year-old last year. He's a beautiful 8-point. He'll definitely be a 5-year-old shooter this year. He was not on the hit list last year. He's definitely not this year. So we'll monitor with this with the camera. And again, just really quick, these ingredients. A solid early season food source that's been established, especially on private land, for months. Great access in and out of a stand for afternoon where you're not spooking deer. This movement relates to fall bedding. And then fourth, we want to put a camera on here, monitor what's going on, get to know the bucks, watch them grow, so that we actually build some excitement for opening day. We can't wait to sit here. And we had our Kicking Bear charity event a couple weeks ago on Father's Day weekend. And the hunter that's coming in, I think it's going to be the end of September. Dylan's going to be here to film. Dante might be around to film too. But bottom line is, this might be one of those spots. And if he comes in here, we'll specifically have him look for Ocho, that beautiful 5-year-old 8-point. He's still got a lot of growing to do, but those brow tines are unmistakable. They're about 6 inches, 7 inches. They're tipped in a little bit. They're very wide apart. They might be 8 inches apart, but pretty cool buck. We have a great setup for bow season. We have the licking branch in there in place. That's another one of the ingredients right in front for a bow shot. And we can't wait. I hope you have some spots like this that fit these ingredients. And I can add, you know, people ask about minerals all the time. If this was a spot that was legal for minerals, I haven't hunted in a state that's been legal for minerals for a while. We might put a mineral lick right out there where the kinetic is, you know, in that location, because we don't necessarily need it right where we're shooting. We are just trying to continually define this movement of bedding, early season food source, mineral, then they go out. And that'd just be another addition and attraction in this line of movement we're trying to create. It'd be a great spot for one right out there in the corner. We don't need it back here in a hidey hole or even where we're going to shoot. But that would be another complete step. Maybe you can do that in your state. But again, I hope you're looking forward to the start of bow season. We are, and we can't wait for the season. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you watching the videos. We have over 600 articles on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. It's all free. And I also appreciate those of you that check out our books. I have 5 books starting from 2012. We have web classes on the site, whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. Check out Pure Wildlife Blends. I really appreciate you guys that have already purchased our seed. We've had thousands of people. We've shipped to 48 states. We have digital land management through whitetailstrategy.com. That's taking all these ideas and concepts I put in the YouTube videos and digitally transforming your land for you. And then finally, we have our clients and client visits. We'll visit over 300 clients as a group this year. We visit anywhere in the country. Boots on the ground is always the best, but we have a lot of ways to help you, from free to client visits and all in between. Check us out. Again, whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, Pure Wildlife Blends, and whitetailstrategy.com.